Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business. Looking forward to talking with Charlie Saffro. Charlie, it's great to connect with you with CS Recruiting. You specialize in the supply chain and logistics world, and I love talking recruiting because I think it's a really, really important part of business today. I'm a business coach that works with people around the globe, and I like to start off my show because I think people learn through story. And I'm a business coach that works with people who are successful and get stuck, get them unstuck. So I'd like to start off by talking about where are people stuck today in the recruiting process?
That is a great question. And there are so many different phases of the recruiting process. And I think, honestly, people are stuck at every phase with a different problem. So do you want to focus more on job seekers or hiring companies? Because we've got two sides of the coin.
Let's just talk about where they're stuck. Just kind of you pick one.
Okay.
Whatever is top of your list.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest place where companies are stuck is they're focused on this as a transactional process. We need to get a warm body in this position, and they're not thinking about the long term. And the long term is retention. And it's a funny message for someone who's in the recruiting industry to be talking about. We want to work with clients that have high retention, that take care of their people, and that they're calling us because they have opportunities that are because of growth or because of expansion, not because of constant turnover. So where people get stuck is they focus on a resume, they focus on the words of a resume when they should really be focused on the human behind that title.
Yeah.
Certainly skills-based hiring, but soft skills and our personality traits are just as important as those hard skills. And that's what's going to determine if someone is the right short-term, long-term fit and can really make an impact at your company.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you for that. One of the things I see also as a stuck, Charlie, is that people are reactionary when it comes to hiring. To me, I wrote about this in my book, that I think recruiting needs to be kind of a full-time year-round thing. And companies should be always thinking about succession planning because it takes, I would say, a good 3 to 6 months, if not longer, to find great. And today, I think but today specifically, you always want to hire great. All right. Well, thank you for that. Let's dive in a little bit more on this subject. I want to talk about hiring, training, and retaining. All right. Okay. So let's start hiring with the hiring element. How do you hire great?
You've got to know what you're looking for, and you've got to have internal alignment. I would say very confidently that is where most searches fail, is companies determine that they need to fill a position, whether it's a vacancy or it's a growth opportunity. And there's usually one person that is really spearheading that process on the hiring side. So in some companies, it's the hiring manager and the person that the new hire will report to. Some companies are large enough where they have an in-house corporate recruiting team. Sometimes it's an HR rep managing that process. Sometimes it's the company owner or the executive suite. But what it comes down to is the process, it needs an owner, but there is not always alignment behind that owner. And that is where we see the process break. An example is a hiring manager may get approval to bring on a direct report. In their mind, this person needs to be, at $60,000, have 3 to 5 years of experience, and they're let them work from home because they are looking for the right person, not the right person in their location. We go through the search, we build a pipeline, we find some great talent, they interview, they evaluate, we move people on, we reject people, get to that 11th hour, and we're ready to extend an offer on behalf of our client. And the CEO steps in, or the HR manager, and hold on, we had $50,000 budgeted, or we thought we were going to give him this title, or we need him to be in the office or work this schedule. And that is where the process is broken, is people move reactionary. They're not really thinking strategically. And just even if they are using an external recruiter, we need buy-in. We need stakeholder alignment. And this should be a decision that a lot of people are involved in. You don't have to, reinvent the wheel, but you need sign off. You need to make sure that the job description that is out there reflects what the
Yeah.
company agrees the direction is, and everyone is on that same page.
Yeah. As a business owner who is, you started your company, I think you said in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
As a business owner, what do you do internally to kind of prep your people to ask the questions to make sure that, as a coach, one of the things I always talk to clients about is, you want to make sure you're in front of that, all the decision makers, that your competition, and that all the influencers,
Mm-hmm.
right? Otherwise, it can come back to, like in your scenario, kind of hurt you a little bit. So as a business owner, how do you kind of take that can happen and create a system, a process, and a flow from a sales perspective?
Yeah, it is all sales. And it's funny because as recruiters, I don't think a lot of recruiters think of themselves as salespeople, but we are selling ourselves. We are selling opportunities, and it starts with building a relationship. So our process ideally involves those stakeholders on that initial call where we are getting into what they're looking for, who they're looking for. We're asking the right questions to really make sure they're thinking through every angle. From there, we could certainly work with a representative or whoever's spearheading the search and an individual, but having those touch points. And at the end of the day, that job description is really that one tangible thing we can fall back on. So the job description needs to be approved by everyone. As a recruiting firm, we can certainly finesse it and enhance it. But if that job description goes out to market, that is your ad. That is, you wouldn't put a billboard up on a highway without your full team's approval. And that's kind of how we think about job descriptions. Like that is our Bible when we go out to identify talent. And if we find someone and they're in line with that, we expect them to move forward. Now there may be, certain reasons that the client doesn't want to pursue someone, and that's all what we build back into our strategy to give it another go.
Okay, got it. All right, so we're giving a little flavor of hiring. Let's do a little flavor of training, right? So somebody comes in. What is I think people are starting to go back to the office more full time. More 5 days a week. I'm seeing trends in that.
Yeah,
but there's still a big hybrid world out there, and so how are you training people and onboarding them in in-office hybrid? What does that look like today?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of figured it out ourselves. And now we're in a position after we went virtual in 2021 where we can coach our clients through this and be more consultative because we've put the processes and policies and philosophies in place to be a remote company, but to still be able to train our people, give them attention, have that connection. Training is necessary. And I think the one line I probably hear more than I ever want to is, we want to hire someone who can hit the ground running. That's great. Like I understand what that means. You want someone to come with, basic knowledge. Maybe they even have a Rolodex or a book of business, but they still need to be acclimated into your culture. And that is part of training. Systems and tools and technology certainly need that hands-on training. It could be done virtually, it could be done in person, but also just welcoming that person into your company, talking about your values, your culture, expectations as an employee, meetings that occur regularly. So I think a lot of these companies, when they hire someone with experience, day one, they're like, yep, here's your business cards, here's your laptop, go. Those are the candidates that don't stay because they aren't feeling like they're welcome. They feel like a number, a body, when again, like there is a person behind that title. And at a minimum, training should be that first week, if not longer.
Yeah. I think it should be, it's ongoing, but for sure, kind of 100-day onboarding, a hyper focus. I agree. And so now when you talk about staying, let's talk about staying. Let's talk about retention, because if you hire someone, if you're not training them to the extent you need to, then it becomes a retention issue, and then the cycle starts all over. And it's really, really expensive to hire the wrong person or hire the right person, and they end up not being happy or trained and knowing what direction they're kind of moving in. So talk about, from your eyes and perspective and where you see things, retention.
Retention all comes down to employee engagement, and it's a buzzword, but it's something, I mean, companies have been doing it for a long time, and we're really encouraging companies to think about, what does your engagement program look like? What is every touch point you have with employees? Recognition and appreciation is one thing that should never be looked over. In great times, recognition and appreciation could be sending, $100 gift card when somebody goes above and beyond. In other times, it could be a post on LinkedIn or a company announcement on Slack. I really believe that appreciation comes down to knowing your people.
Yeah.
One of the things we do is we do a lot of assessments, not to make hiring decisions, but to get to know our employees better and to help them know themselves better.
Yeah.
So like the work love languages, how do you like to be recognized? Is it through words of affirmation? Do you need gifts? Do you need quality time? And we cater the way we recognize our employees to the way that they best receive that acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Training is another thing. People don't just want to come in and be trained for a week and set free. They want mentoring, they want coaching, they want continuous training. So having a career path and some sort of evolution program in place is a great retention tactic, making employees feel like you are investing in their development and giving them a reason to stay and constantly challenging them.
Yeah.
I think a misnomer is people just assume, yeah, they're probably lazy, they don't want more work. I'm going to say about 80% of the candidates we talk to are leaving the company or considering leaving because they hit the ceiling and they're not seeing more opportunities. So that's another retention tactic. Connectivity. I mean, we do a lot of things to inspire and really influence connectivity. Some of it is company events where we all come together in person and do fun things. Some of it are team building exercises, but really encouraging that cross-functional relationship building. Those are all retention tactics. And the businesses that invest in that will find that not only do they retain their people, but their quality of business, their products and their services are actually going to be enhanced, because when you create a culture of connectivity, you're creating a culture of purpose. Yeah. When people feel purpose, they're productive. Like there's no other way around it.
Yeah, no, that's well said. I appreciate that. Let's talk about the recruits, right? As a recruiter, you're getting recruits.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guide them to bring their best selves, and who needs to show up at every single interview? I'm a big believer. For clients, I help them in the recruiting process sometimes. And you always hope that the person you interview, a better version keeps on, a great version shows up the first time, and then they keep on getting better as the interviews go on. And so, in kind of, a Reader's Digest version, how do you prep your people, or how do you recommend people show up to an interview?
Certainly prepare. And we as recruiters, we have to maintain this unbiased position. I mean, we, at the end of the day, are working for our hiring clients. They are the ones that are paying us a fee if we have a successful recruit. It's a free service to job seekers. So we don't want to overly set them up and say, okay, these are the 5 questions that this person always asks, and cheat the system, but more so, here's an article that the person you're interviewing, put out on LinkedIn last week. Here's their profile. I know that you have 2 sons and they have 2 sons. So that's just something you might want to connect on. So we prep our candidates and we make sure that they are ready to go in and, again, not cheat the system, but really highlight their best skills based on what we know our clients looking for.
Yeah. And what about soft skills? How should they show up?
Soft skills are so misunderstood, and it really is the future of hiring and how most hiring decisions are made. So when companies come to us and say, we want a cultural fit or we want a cultural add, they're really just telling us that they want some specific personality traits or characteristics, and that's what soft skills are. So when we prep candidates, really going back to when they're putting their resume together or applying for a position, really encouraging them to think about soft skills and to toot their own horn. So a lot of people think they're bragging if they're like, yeah, I'm really responsible, or I'm super analytical or dependable. Like, those are soft skills that need to come to play in a resume and need to be bragged about in an interview. Because usually clients, hiring companies know they know the persona they're looking for, and the easiest way to match that to a human is through soft skills.
Yeah. How long does an average person look at a resume today?
7 seconds.
That's what I thought. So that hasn't changed.
That is not changed.
Which is kind of a little bit more than the average attention span today, which is less than 7 seconds. It's like
Exactly.
6.25 seconds.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you got about 7 or less seconds to make an impression. So that being said, what is the most important piece of real estate on a resume?
I believe it's the headline, and most people don't even have a headline. And what that is it's one statement that sums you up in one line or less. So we actually use like a little formula to help our candidates get to that headline. And it works in a way that, first you lay out, your title and the title that you're going after, but what are 3 or 4 different ways that title is showing up in the market? So you may call yourself an account executive, but in the market, that's a sales rep. That's a business development rep. That may be a strategic account manager. So you want to think about those titles and probably lean into the one that is most known or that you think the hiring manager is actually looking for. After that, you want to highlight an industry keyword, maybe 2 of them. So in our world, logistics, supply chain, transportation, like you want to call that out. And then something about your expertise, which is usually goes back to a skill. So a soft skill or a hard skill. So, it may look something like a reliable supply chain expert with a focus on procurement and material processing. And so it's that one line, but I know when I look at resumes, like if I see that, I go to that. I would say the next piece of real estate that's valuable and often missed is I strongly encourage people to have like an interest section or a hobbies or extracurricular. Like I want to know who these people are outside.
I like that part too.
Yeah. Like, tell me you're a dad. Tell me you go fishing on the weekends or that you're a musician on the side. So if
personalize it a little bit.
Human, exactly. Like add some human flair to it.
Yeah, I love it. All right, quick speed round. You ready, Charlie?
Okay.
A book, a TED Talk, or an article that's had the biggest impact on you?
Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty.
That's a good one. Love Jay Shetty. Yeah. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Oh, you will never make all your employees happy, so don't lose sleep over it.
Okay, good one. Good one. One thing you wish you learned in high school or college that would have helped you in your career today?
Empathy is a superpower and not a weakness.
Okay, good. Finish this sentence. One thing everybody needs to do to put recruiting at the top of their list is?
Make sure you always have an updated resume.
All right, good. Tell everybody how they can connect with you and who your ideal clients are.
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active, put a lot of content out around these very subjects. We are looking for anyone who has experience in logistics, supply chain, or transportation that may be looking to transition into a new role, and also any companies that are hiring supply chain, logistics, or transportation talent. We recruit pretty much any position except the truck driver, but any corporate professional position, we can help you find your person.
I love it. This was great, Charlie. I appreciate you being on the show. As a business coach who works with successful people who are stuck and get them unstuck, I love this podcast because I get to have guests like you on who can help get people unstuck. And you gave a lot of great wisdom on how to think about recruiting from an employer standpoint and an employee standpoint. I think community, we talk a lot about showing up to be your best self. Bringing your best self and your highest potential to every single interview. We talk about the importance of onboarding and connecting with your people, and retention is really, really important. And I appreciate you highlighting all of those, Charlie. Tell people your website one more time.
It is cs-recruiting.com.
All right. And you can reach me at jondwoskin.com. And thanks again, Charlie. This was great. Appreciate it. Talk to you.
You too.